Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Officer Paul Cruz, Wichita Police Department Public Information Officer. We have a huge announcement, very significant for our city and for the Wichita Police Department. So to get things started, we're going to introduce our speakers. So today, I have the honor of being able to present U.S. Attorney Steve McAllister. So we'd like to join up here. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. We're pleased today to talk about the Public Safety Partnership Program that the Department of Justice is going to provide for the Wichita Police Department. It will show results. It has shown results in other cities. And it is in many ways a privilege for Wichita to be selected. It's unfortunate that the reason is crime, but it is a great asset for the city of Wichita. Only 10 cities nationwide were selected for this support this year. It is not money or a grant program, but it is technical expertise. It's training. It's building a plan to reduce violent crime in Wichita. We're going to emphasize new technology that will help us analyze local crime trends, identify hotspots, and rapidly process crime scene data. Forensic firearms analysis will be a big part of this effort. Just as important, we're going to draw on new ideas and best practices from a nationwide network of cities already participating in this program. We will send people to other cities to learn about and observe what they are doing that is successful so that we might bring it home, copy it, and implement it here in Wichita. And we're going to make sure throughout this process, which is a 3-year commitment from the Department of Justice, that Wichita Police Department has the most up-to-date training and training that will be customized to best serve the needs of Wichita. Together, all of the federal partners, and that includes many of my colleagues here from the Marshal Service, the DEA, the FBI, the ATF, will be working together to customize a plan for Wichita to make PSP a success in this city. At the end of the day, we all share the same goals. The goals include to reduce violent crime in Wichita, to hold violent criminals accountable for their conduct, and to make all of Wichita a safe place for all of the members of this wonderful community. So at this point, it's my privilege to introduce the Mayor of Wichita, Jeff Longwell.
Well, thank you, and I will add that what you are going to be providing us is so much more than money, so much better for our community than money, and we're going to be very appreciative of this. It's certainly my pleasure to be here today because we are going to talk about how we're going to combat violent crime. You're going to hear from some of these folks, but we're fortunate to have several people in the room, including our police chief that's going to speak here right after me. Senator Moran could not make it, but Mike Zammerslaw will be here speaking on behalf of the senator, and Mike is almost as good as having the senator here. So the senator probably won't get that. I'm sure he's not watching right now. But Mike is a tremendous asset for our community and does an outstanding job on behalf of the center. I know we have some other electeds. I know we have our elected district attorney here, Mark Bennett, and Mark is in the back of the room. And if Mark doesn't get a chance to speak, I would encourage you to visit with him because Mark cares deeply about this community, and we appreciate the cooperation that we get. So as we work to address this unacceptable high violent crime rate in our city, we recognize that violent crime is symptomatic of underlying issues of education, income inequality, as well as mental health issues and drug use. And while we work to address those underlying causes of violence in our community, we must work to hold violent offenders accountable and reduce our crime rate. We can only accomplish this by working together. And that's what you're going to hear today is it is all about collaboration. And so we're very grateful for the support that Senator Brand has provided us for this project. Certainly the support of the U.S. Attorney and the comprehensive effort to combat violent crime and hold violent offenders accountable. We look forward to continuing to invest in safety in our community through this amazing partnership. I'm going to say it one more time. This is better than money. Thank you. Because we're going to train people, and that training doesn't leave them when the money runs out. It's going to stay with them for a very long time, and we're fortunate to have some dedicated officers that want to make a difference in their community, and that training is going to help them do that. So we want the criminals to know that we are coming after you, and that we're not going to settle for anything else than a completely safe community. Our citizens, our children, in my case, my grandchildren, they deserve nothing less. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you our Chief Gordon Ramsey.
Good afternoon. I want to thank everybody for being here. We're here talking about issues in our community, and one of them is crime. We've talked a lot in the past about what are we doing to address crime, how are we doing it? Well, this is one more effort on our part with our partners that are here today, our federal law enforcement partners, all in the audience, the ATF, Marshal Service, FBI, DEA. We're all collaborating to work together to reduce crime in our city. We were chosen for the project, or the PSP grant, because of how we work together, right? This is about partnerships, all pulling the rope in the same direction. It uses analytics, best tactics that are being implemented across the country where other cities have seen success, and we're going to be implementing those here as well. Matter of fact, we've already started implementing some of them, and this year our numbers are down dramatically. When you consider commercial robberies are down about 50% over 2 years ago. Those are incredible numbers. We had our first bank robbery here last week this year. Those are some numbers that are, make me happy as the chief. We continue to see a decrease in our shootings, down significantly. And these numbers are dropping because of our partnerships, because of the help from the U.S. Attorney's Office, and the good work of our staff that are laser focused on those that are responsible for perpetrating violent crime in our community. I would be remiss if I didn't thank our partners at the U.S. Attorney's Office, our federal law enforcement partners, at the DA, the sheriff, as we all pull the rope in the same direction. Now, a lot of people see police as the face of crime in a community, and really it is, as the mayor mentioned, it is much bigger than just police. There are a lot of issues that fall into the reasons for crime. One of our drivers is methamphetamine and mental health issues are two things that we're focused on, and we will be working with our partners in other cities across the country to see what's successful in their areas and implementing that here as well. So we do have a few other people that are going to speak. I'm honored to introduce the Director of the Bureau of Justice Assistance, John Adler, who oversees this program and many others throughout the Bureau of Justice Assistance. Thanks. Welcome. Thanks,
On behalf of President Trump and Attorney General Barr, it is an absolute honor for me to be here today to join a formidable team, to join and work with Chief Ramsey, U.S. Attorney McAllister, DA Bennett, the mayor, who I am inspired by the fact is a former MP and has law enforcement in his blood. Senator Moran's office is represented here today by Mike, and we greatly appreciate his strong level of engagement, as well as we have here retired Chief Ed Flynn from Milwaukee, who is also going to be a very significant team player for us in working with the jurisdiction to ensure we make great strides in driving down violent crime. So in my capacity as the director of the Bureau of Justice Assistance, I oversee this grant/training/policy giant for the Department of Justice. And we seek to direct our resources and our assets where it will fit the most and where the foundation is already laid. And I can tell you, a lot of jurisdictions applied to be a part of this partnership. But Wichita was selected not just because of crime data, but because of the level of, and I think the mayor hit on it, the collaboration that already exists. The U.S. Attorney's Office, the District Attorney's Office, the sheriff, all of my DOJ brethren from the FBI, DEA, ATF, the Marshal Service. I recently heard during a meeting today about Operation, I think it's Triple Beam. That is why my team is here to work collaboratively with Wichita and with Chief Ramsey, because they already have that foundation. They already have that part down pat. So what we seek to do, and you've heard it from the speakers before me, is provide training and technical assistance. Training and technical assistance to address the areas or the areas of crime that are impacting Wichita. So by way of example, we have technology deployment. Technology in a box does no one good. But there is a lot of good technology which evolves every day that we can deploy to better position our law enforcement assets to fight crime effectively. And we draw upon best practices across the country and bring those together with this technical assistance, with this training. We also engage in the local jurisdictions in dealing with community engagement, with precision policing, strategic planning, data analytics, all areas that factor into effective law enforcement engagement with any jurisdiction. Now, I look forward having my team here work with Chief Ramsey and all of our stakeholder partners. I think you heard it before. This is a 3-year engagement. It's a 3-year engagement, but the critical piece, and this was discussed today during our meeting, is sustaining the progress that we're going to make driving down violent crime. The citizenry of Wichita are great Americans, and they deserve to live in communities not being fearful of violent crime, which is currently the case, but we're going to make it even better. Chief Ramsey leads an outstanding department. The chief himself is an inspired, innovative chief, and I can say that because I meet with the chiefs across the country, and I can tell you that he is cutting edge, and his team is exactly the team that we want to direct our resources towards, supporting this great American city and driving down violent crime together. And now I believe the next speaker will be Mark Bennett, the district attorney here in this great county.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I appreciate also U.S. Attorney McAllister involving the district attorney's office in this. These sort of endeavors are important for a community. We have an opportunity here to expand on relationships that have already long begun. The use of analytics, the use of really data mining the information that we have available so we can do a better job of targeting our resources, because the truth is they're limited. We struggle, as every community does, with fewer and fewer resources all the time, with an ever-expanding responsibility to our communities. Just found out this last week that we lost our second firearms examiner out of 2, so we have no firearms examiners in Wichita right now. That's a problem, and that's not going to be solved by this, but those are the kind of realities we deal with. So when we have limited resources like that, we can't spread ourselves thin. We have to use the most cutting-edge technology. We have to go to other cities and see what they have done, because I don't think Wichita or Kansas is unique in the fact that we are strapped for resources, and what have other communities done and done successfully. So we have already worked well together for years. The Sheriff's Department, the DA's office, U.S. Attorney's office, the City of Wichita Police Department, and all the other local agencies, Derby, Goddard, et cetera. And so we already have a close-knit working relationship, but this is an opportunity to bring to bear resources, access to information, if nothing else, connections that we can, again, bring to bear from across the United States. So if we have a question, what's going on in Houston? What's happened in Chicago? What's happened elsewhere? Well, how have you all addressed this? It is very helpful to have those kind of links, those kind of opportunities. So I look forward to this. I think it's the next step in leading Wichita in the right direction. And again, I thank all of our federal partners for all the work they've done Again, triple beam, just the latest example, tremendous impact it's had just this summer with the U.S. Marshal's Office, Sheriff's Office, and the Wichita Police Department working together in collaboration with other federal law enforcement agencies to ensure that this summer has not seen the typical spike that we would typically see in this hot summer months of violent crime. And we've kept it, I mean, we've still had murders, there's still been terrible things that take place, but the numbers are much more manageable this summer than they've been in the past because of this type of effort. So thank you to all of our partners, and I look forward to this being a very fruitful endeavor. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Mark Bennett for his words. We also like to invite the representative from Senator Moran's office, Mike Zemza. So I'd like to welcome you. Thank you very much for being here.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Zammersla, Deputy State Director for United States Senator Jerry Moran. First, on behalf of the Senator, I would like to congratulate the City of Wichita, Mayor Longwell, Chief Ramsey, District Attorney Bennett, and other distinguished guests and officials who are with us today. The Senator would also like to thank Director Adler and the Department of Justice for supporting Wichita's efforts to increase public safety and community engagement. We are all very proud and excited that Wichita was one of only 10 cities selected for this innovative nationwide program. The National Public Safety Partnership exemplifies the importance of working together to address these serious crime issues. This program uses common sense approaches to effectively fight violent crime and ensure that federal, state, and local law enforcement have the necessary resources they need to proactively prevent crime while bringing perpetrators to justice. As chairman of the Appropriations Subcommittee that funds the U.S. Department of Justice, Senator Moran has and will continue to make it a top priority of his to make certain that law enforcement agencies have the resources they need to enhance public safety and strengthen the partnerships that are vital to the health and well-being of our communities. And again, in particular, the reason we're here today for our largest city in the state, the city of Wichita. Senator Moran will continue to remain highly engaged as Wichita implements this program, and we look forward to working with you, all of you, on future initiatives. Thank you on behalf of the Senator.
At this time, we'd like to open it up for just a few questions. So I know that members of the media are here. If you'd like to ask any questions, we'd like to open it up at this time.
Obviously, this is to target a lot of the problem areas such as gangs, guns, and drugs. Can you kind of address how that is going to be carried out here in Wichita?
Sure.
Hi, Lily. So a couple of the things that we've done, we reallocated staffing last year where we took all the street crimes unit and centralized them into one unit. That centralized team will be following up on leads from the ballistic testing. They will be laser focused on our problem offenders, those that are responsible for violent crime, as well as an increased education piece. We look back, 2017, we had close to 500 guns stolen from cars. When you throw in commercial burglaries and residential burglaries, over 1,000 guns stolen. That education piece is important. One of the efforts in this Operation Save a Casings, where individuals can save a casing from their firearm, a spent shell, and keep it at their home in case a firearm is stolen, to help us with tracking those, because it is a significant issue here. As well as the increased use in analytics to help us be more focused on where things are occurring and when, so we can deploy resources where they need to be at the right times. Anything else?
I have a question. Chief, could you talk about the mental health piece of this?
Yeah, mental health is a significant issue that we face, increasingly so. The sheriff and the DA have really been leading our effort in that, and because of how it's driving the jail population, our criminal cases, it's significant. When you look at some of our recent officer-involved shootings, there is a component of mental health, and our folks on the street, we're estimating 25 to 30% of our calls now involve mental health. It is a significant issue for us. One of the things we want to look at is the number of mental health beds that in the state are available has dropped to a number that many people have never seen, right? So when we look for resources For those that are suffering, they're simply not there. So the catch-all, the net is law enforcement, policing, the criminal justice system, and jail. And that is not the way to be handling many of these people that are in crisis. So we'll be examining what's working elsewhere and looking at implementing that here, as well as continuing to seek grants and other funding for those issues.
I'll just jump in, Craig, and say that this effort here is kind of a front-end approach. We're dealing with how to allocate resources in the street, how to allocate resources in the DA's office, the U.S. Attorney's office, about which cases we prosecute, which ones get charged first, et cetera. But on maybe the back end or collateral component to this is the mental health, drug treatment, et cetera. You've heard the numbers. You guys heard me say this ad nauseum, but one more time, when 40% of the people in the jail are diagnosed with some sort of mental disease, when 11% of the people in the Kansas Department of Corrections, according to KDOC, are persistently mentally ill, you know that mental illness is I'm not going to suggest that mental illness is a one-to-one corollary. People with mental illness commit crimes. That's not what I'm saying. But it is, in fact, it is undeniably a risk factor for people to commit more crime. Add to that co-occurring drug usage, especially methamphetamine here in Sedgwick County. We know that is our issue. That is our biggest issue when it comes to drugs. When all of those things are co-occurring, that's driving some 60% of the people to the penitentiary are identified with one or more of those issues. So, be more efficient on the front end, but we also need to go back again to our policymakers at the state level. Our policymakers, frankly, at the local level, city council, county commission, et cetera, are all on board. They get it. They know what we're dealing with here. And it's going to take that collaborative effort to enhance those services and the availability of those services so we can not only reap the benefits from this effort on the front end, but long-term make a significant impact.
Craig, the other thing too, the mental health integrated team that we're rolling out that involves individuals from EMS, police, fire, CommCare, with the intent of stabilizing people whenever possible. And that is, we're emulating that based on other cities' successes as well. That is rolling out here very soon, and we believe that will have a helpful impact too based on other successes. Okay? Thank you. Oh, go ahead, Amy.
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I know you guys have talked generally about best practices, borrowing best practices from other cities that have been participating in this program and using analytics, but are you guys ready to talk about specific things that you're planning to do with this program? I know that it's tailored very specifically to the needs of each city.
Yeah, well, obviously the gun violence piece is a big part of it. So building a gun crime intelligence center is one of the specific goals that I have, so that we can tie in those guns that are being used in violent crime throughout the city and successfully prosecute those that are responsible for it. That uses, while it sounds simple, it's quite a process to put all those pieces together. It takes partnerships with the ATF, the Forensic Science Center, many different pieces to make that come about. For years, we collected casings, but we didn't do much with them until we had, a specific gun or something. But now we are tracking every one of those casings we recover at scenes, and part of that will be the implementation of the NIBIN machine, that brass tracks program. So specifically, that's probably the one that one of them that I'm most excited about, and I can give you more information on that if you'd like to. Yeah.
Just say a couple things about that. So, yeah, the chief mentioned the Gun Crime Intelligence Center and the NIBIN machine, and it sounds like we're on track to actually start receiving that equipment as soon as in a couple of weeks. So that'll be set up at Wichita State. But the PSP program, as I understand it, a group of us will be going to Memphis, Tennessee, in the first part of September to spend 3 days working on customizing a plan for Wichita, learning about what some of the other jurisdictions have done, seeing what we think fits for Wichita, and then begin developing an individualized plan, as you suggest, has been applied in other cities. So we literally will spend 3 days with experts from other jurisdictions, and it is not just a big conference. We wander around, we pop in and out of sessions. It will literally be, as I understand it, the Wichita room. And we will be in there for much of those 3 days with people coming to us presenting to us and giving all the federal partners, all the local partners together a chance to talk about, learn about, and discuss the various options of things that might be implemented in Wichita, and then collective wisdom as to what seems the best fit for Wichita. So the short answer is we don't know all the pieces yet, but they are coming, and it won't be that long, I think, before we have the specific pieces.
Do you guys have a timeline for when a plan for the program will be fully developed?
Sometime after September 9th to 11th. But it is a 3-year program, and certainly during the course of the first year, the goal would be to have specific strategies and so forth identified and begin implementing, so that years 2 and 3 are refining and building on that. And as Director Adler mentioned, trying to set Wichita up for sustained success, because we all know over time, I won't be in this role, the chief, the DA, positions may change, but we want things to be internalized to the institutions in such a fashion that it's sustainable over time.
Go ahead, Lily.
One final question. Wanted to know, this has been implemented in other cities, such as Milwaukee. Can you talk about the successes there and how that was implemented?
Sure. Ed, do you want to say? You're going to get away from this? So this is the retired Milwaukee Police Chief Ed Flynn, who is one of our advisors on this project.
Thanks. I've gotten to know Gordon over the last few years as a fellow member of the Major City Chiefs Association, so it's a great privilege to have an opportunity to work with him here. We were an early adopter of the Public Safety Partnership. Milwaukee has a significant poverty rate and a significant violent crime rate and a significant rate of firearm seizures. Our rate of seizures of guns was 242 per 100,000. By way of comparisons, New York City's was 53. And Chicago's was like 212. So we had one of the highest rates of gun recoveries from criminals in the nation, as well as a significant homicide rate. And what we did when we became part of the Public Safety Partnership was achieve something very significant. And that was working with the U.S. Attorney and the federal agencies there, see to it, because of the support of Maine Justice, that the federal agencies assigned to Milwaukee made our priorities their priorities. So we had a very strong partnership on the street between the law enforcement agencies of the federal government and our own officers. We also were able to avail ourselves of a great deal of training so that our crime analysts went to first class crime analysis training around the country. And we were also able to send serving officers in operational assignments to places like Los Angeles and New York and other cities that had made significant progress in dealing with violent crime. And let's face it, I think one of the things that makes this program so significant, it's not about finding some highly paid consultant somewhere to come into your town and charge you $100,000 to write up a report for you. It's very much based on peer-to-peer learning. There's extraordinary wisdom and experience out there, and every chief and every DA is in their own silo because there's so much incoming. They've got a chance to stick their head out of the foxhole. And what this enables us to do is to provide opportunities for them to go elsewhere, share information. For example, I'm sitting here saying, Wichita, cool. They're telling people to hold on to their shell casings for possible later matches. Why didn't I think of that? Well, that's something Wichita can tell somebody else to do. But there are other folks out there doing programs, or maybe versions of what Wichita's already doing, but perhaps further along the continuum. They've been at it longer. They started earlier. So it's an extraordinary opportunity to learn from peers who have absolute credibility and total experience. It's a great opportunity to really reinvigorate and strengthen partnerships with the local federal law enforcement agencies. And it's also a terrific way to focus the resources of more than one prosecutorial authority on the most significant offenders or the most significant offenses. So in the course of the next couple of years, these pieces will turn into a strategy that is Wichita specific. And there will be trainings that deal with the things that Wichita really sees itself wanting to do. But trust me, we'll be using Wichita to go to conferences to give some trainings as well, because they're not a basket case here. They've got a lot of positive things going on. And it really gives us a great opportunity to build on a platform as the major cities continue to learn from each other. And by the way, we achieved significant reductions in crime. I forgot that part. But all those moving pieces in Milwaukee did have a dramatic impact on our violence in the target areas.
Thank you. Again, this concludes our news conference. We would like to thank everyone, all of our guests here, the media as well, and we'd like to thank everyone again for this great initiative that we're doing here in the city of Wichita.